Instagram Partridge, we join Dan Thor on a driven day in Essex and look at how our sport bumps into social media. The Row Whisperer, Ollie Williams in Cornwall, has a close encounter of the deer kind. With frozen turkeys in doubt, is it time for a wild game Christmas dinner? Ben O'Rourke finds out. Plus, we are giving away £160 worth of gun security. We have news, we have hunting YouTube. Welcome to Field Sports Britain. Some people like to keep their shooting under the radar. Not Dan Thor. He shares everything on Instagram, and today he's on an early season partridge day at the Grange shoot in Essex.
Come here about 2 years ago. Ever since then I've been coming back every year. Basically just like a big family shoot, to be honest. Really nicely run, you're a part of the day, everyone makes you feel like you're part of the team, and that's how it should be.
He's brought along a couple of Instagram chums, Fred Darnell and Andrew Bone. Shoot photographer Matthew Nutt is on Instagram too, and of course the shoot has its own page.
Me and you got together straight away, didn't we? Straight away. I think you might have been on there before me, probably. He was on there before me, and a friend of mine just said to start a page up, so I decided to start a page up, and that's when I met people, obviously, like Andy and all the other boys I'm good friends with now.
Considering he didn't want to be on social media.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I never wanted to be on social media, really. I just didn't think it was the right way to go about things, but obviously when you go on there and look at what everyone else is doing, I thought I might as well go on there, because obviously that's what you do.
Though, can't you?
Yeah. So I've made some incredible friends off there now, which in my eyes is probably the thing I wanted out of it most. Been to some lovely places now, and yes, it's been great ever since we started.
You get some idiots along the way though, don't you?
Yeah, you do. I've really enjoyed it. Like I say, I've met a lot of people, and it's just been great, really. Made some really good memories and been to places you'd never think of going. And we've met you, James.
Well, that's it.
Happy birthday, dear Fred. Happy birthday to you.
He's gone all red.
Formalities over, it's all aboard the gun bus and off to the first drive. Today, Dan's shooting a new Browning for the first time on game.
This is the XS Pro. Find it just a really nice handling gun, to be fair. So we shot it yesterday on the simulated clays. So I thought instead of cleaning it last night, I'll bring it out today, get it dirty again, and then so it shoots really well. Fits me nice. Comes with a nice lot of back pads as well, which you can extend to my length because I like my guns nice and long. But really happy with this gun. That was nice, Rich. A lot of birds in there.
Yeah.
A lot of birds.
It's warm, isn't it?
Yeah, the weather's not on your side today.
Rich Metson's family owns the shoot, which covers 750 acres of rolling farmland near the Suffolk border.
So because it's been such a hot day, we're doing runs on every drive to make sure that they're getting cooled down immediately. You want to get those birds down below 5 degrees the moment that the drive ends. We're actually doing runs straight to the game dealer.
There's one key member of the picking up team you might not expect. Lucy is a Jack Russell, a breed not well known for its retrieving skills.
Cock pheasants she used to struggle with, and then she worked out that if she just flipped her head, she could drop it over her shoulder and carry it quite cleanly.
At the peg, Dan's already got his phone out, live streaming the action to Instagram.
I just stuck a little live video on because sometimes I like to show the guys what we're up to during the day. Sometimes if we're up the farm and around the pens, or like today on a game day as well, it's nice to show them what we're doing. And a lot of people obviously this time of year like to see game being shot. Ben Hustlewaite does a nice job as well. He does a lot of live videos, loading for people and also shooting himself. And I've been watching them, and yeah, they're very knowledgeable. You get to see estates all over the country. So yeah, it's just sort of showing people, that these shoots are out there and they can come and enjoy them. I think we just had over 300 views there. Not all in one go, but throughout, I think the highest ever was about 40 people watching at a time. So yeah, we reached around 300 views there, which is not too bad.
We actually have a couple of local restaurants that we work with as well. The Flitcher Bacon, which is in the village here, They take some of our birds. The Galvin Green Man, which is run by the Galvin brothers, who run a network of high-quality restaurants, including a Michelin star down in London. They take a few as well. So some of them go down to La Chapelle in London to be served to fine diners. And then the rest go to a couple of different game dealers based on who wants what and what quota's going. There's no better food than this. Yep, field to fork. It's been fed healthily. It's had a nice, happy outdoor life. I don't think you can ask for anything more.
After a welcome break in the shade, we're off to the next drive. With the temperature in the mid-20s, Dan's pleased he's picked some cooler clothing to wear on the peg today.
We've got the Jack Pike hat on today and the shirt, and obviously the little tie. This is just a waistcoat that I'd bought quite cheap, I think, off eBay. Just a little bargain, which I took off there. And I think the chino's just from Next. Just something nice and light today, because like I say, the weather is a bit too hot for tweeds and stuff. Quite a few of the other guys have got tweeds on today, as you can see through the line. But I find normally in September I'll just dress down a little bit, and then when it starts getting in the colder months, that's when I whack the tweeds on.
But always a tie, eh?
Always a tie. Yeah. Always wear a tie. I mean, sometimes through the season I wear a little dicky bow. I haven't been brave enough to wear a cravat yet. It's so hot. It's sweltering, so it's quite nice to stop for 11s earlier. Sat in the shade for a good hour, didn't we, to cool down, and now we're back on peg on the third drive. Got a lovely reservoir in front of us. They put a few duck down as well. As you can see, a few partridges flicking through, so the wind's got up. We can see how this one goes. Look at that one, look at that partridge. Good shot. Two good ones come over, I'll have a go.
You might think that posting shooting photos on Instagram would attract attention from antis, but pigeon shooter Andy says that isn't a problem.
I put out feedback on, like, for cartridges and decoys and things like that, really. I've had one, why do you put things on Instagram and show pictures of it? But I just say, well, if you don't like that sort of thing, you don't look at it.
One unusual feature of this shoot is that every beater and picker-up carries a radio. Keeper Dan Cox explains.
It comes down to being a fireman and communication, because actually what I do for work is quite important that the job goes right, and the difference it makes is I don't have to shout and holler, I don't have to scare birds, I can say, so-and-so, you need to come back 10 yards or you need to go forward 10 yards. And actually it works because everybody's got a radio. So in my mind, from a keeper's point of view, I have a mental picture of the drive where people should be and what they should be doing, and if they're not there, it can go wrong. I can write that with a radio. It works for me.
Oh. Had a fantastic day, mate. Absolutely fantastic. Like I say, this shoot never disappoints. You always seem part of the family, and the beaters and the people who organise the day just work so hard, and you're always guaranteed to get the bag here. Like I say, the guns have shot well, the birds are flying well considering the weather we've had, as you've seen. Full on sunshine, no wind, but it really is a lovely shoot to come to. It's never about numbers for me. As long as I enjoy the day and we've got great company, that's the main thing. But yeah, I'll probably manage to shoot in the region of 20-something birds today. and it's just been really, really good.
So is keeper Dan tempted to start using Instagram himself?
The shooter's got a page, but yeah, I'm not a techno person, you know. I grew up as a gamekeeper, I grew up as a young lad, so I've stayed that way, and even at work they ask me to send an email and I don't worry about it. But that's me, each to their own.
You can find out more about the Grange shoot on gunsonpegs.com, which is 2 on Instagram. Thank you, Dan, and all at the Grange for a fabulous day. Now break out the awkward emojis, because it is David on the Fieldsports Channel news stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. Shadow Environment Minister Luke Pollard admits that Labour's become too comfortable with being too urban. Speaking at a Countryside Alliance event on the sidelines of the Labour conference in Brighton, he said Labour is focusing on urban voters and ignoring the countryside and its communities, underlined by it winning only 17 out of the 199 rural seats in the last election. He says the party must start listening to rural communities, claiming the next manifesto will be the most rural positive since World War II. A new survey paints a positive picture about the 2021-22 shooting season. The latest Savills and GWCT benchmarking survey shows that coronavirus hasn't dampened enthusiasm for field sports, with 80% of shoot owners expressing optimism for this season, the highest in 3 years. But long-term prospects were lower, with only 45% of shoot managers expressing optimism for the future of driven shooting. Lockdowns clearly affected the number of birds released, with 11% of shoots not releasing any birds in the 2020-21 season. GWCT's Roger Draycott says despite the pandemic, it is heartening to see shoots bouncing back with enthusiasm. A gamekeeper from the Highlands has been named the Scottish Gamekeeper of the Year for 2021. Jamie Rennick, who inherited his love of deer from his father, received his trophy from Princess Anne at the Scottish Game Fair at Scone Palace on Friday. The award celebrates the future of gamekeeping in Scotland and has been presented by the SGA since 2008. The Angling Trust is calling on the government to fix the broken water sector. The Trust says years of underinvestment and a failing sewer system are having a disastrous effect on the environment. Together with Salmon and Trout Conservation, the Trust has delivered a report that calls for more investment in the UK's water infrastructure, which it says dates back to the Victorian era and is crumbling.
We have had over the last 3 or 4 years, report after report, study after study, showing the declining condition of our rivers, giving lie to the message put out consistently by the water companies and to some extent by the Environment Agency that our rivers have never been cleaner. There is no doubt that a deindustrialised Britain has got less pollution, but we've started to see that trend reverse now, down to increasing quantities of untreated sewage, overwhelming the existing creaking and leaking infrastructure and ending up into our rivers.
Reintroducing wolves into parts of the UK may put people off rewilding. Head of Nature Scott, Francesca Ozowska, says there is too much focus on reintroducing apex predators, which could kill livestock and ruin the livelihoods of farmers and estate managers. But she still insists rewilding is essential to address the perceived climate and nature emergencies. Scotland has seen several species reintroductions end in disaster, with sea eagles preying on farm livestock and shooters shooting hundreds of problem beavers. She also says that next year Nature Scott expect to apply to release lynx, which will be another threat to farm livestock. Meanwhile, Nature Scott has been accused of not killing enough deer to protect sensitive habitats. The Cairngorms National Park Authority needs ideas on how to run the place. It set up a website asking people what they would do and has separated ideas into 3 themes: nature, place and people, although almost all involve carbon dioxide in some way. The website has a long list of harebrained schemes and vague promises, including reducing mew burn to combat wildfires and connecting habitats and ecosystems to produce people benefits. People have until the middle of December to submit their crazy ideas and can send in as many as they like. Police are under fire after a firearms officer shot a white fallow buck in Bootle, Merseyside on Sunday. The cops were called after the animal spotted roaming the streets. RSPCA charity workers objected to the animal being killed, insisted it would have made its own way back home, according to the Daily Mail, which dubbed the beast a majestic and rare white stag. A report claims that rabbits are key species that hold together entire ecosystems. University of East Anglia researchers say their grazing and digging keeps the ground in good condition, allowing rare species to thrive. However, numbers are shrinking, according to the report. The researchers credit rabbits with the recovery of 7 species of plant, bird and insect in man-made wildlife highways across the country. Here's another reason to eat game. Supermarkets are scrapping meat suppliers that exploit workers, according to The Guardian, which claims some of the million meat factory workers across Europe are suffering abuse, including being concerned about speaking out, poor sick pay and difficulty coping with the cost of living. Some shoot ranges in the UK are banning non-lead ammunition. The Defence Infrastructure Organisation has said that clubs must not use 100% lead-free ammunition on its ranges. That's a problem for stalkers wanting to zero or practice with the non-lead ammo they use for shooting deer. The restriction is already in force and covers the whole of the UK. And finally, the Glastonbury Festival is being accused of getting fish hooked on drugs. According to scientists, the levels of MDMA and cocaine found in the local water systems after the festival are so high they're damaging the wildlife. Cocaine is believed to interrupt the life cycle of the European eel. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stuck in the stories, fishing for facts.
It's deer stalking next, and Ollie Williams is on the hunt for end-of-season roebuck. Ollie starts in a farmyard as he means to go on. The aim this evening is to knock over a cull buck.
Today we are just undertaking some crucial deer management as always. We'll start off, we'll go and try and look for some roebuck. As you can hear, we're alongside an arterial road, which is the A30, which goes through the heart of Cornwall. So this time of year it's very busy, as you can probably imagine, with the tourists, well, mostly leaving actually in September. Thank God. No, I shouldn't say that, of course. Tourism is a very important part of southwestern culture. Not.
You won't become chairman of the Cornish Tourist Board if you keep on saying
No, I don't plan on being chairman of the Cornish Board and Tourist Board anytime soon, so there's nothing to worry about there. So the last time we went out, the thermal did cause me some problems. I mistook a deer for a couple of pheasants. So I'm a bit more refined now. I've done a bit more practice. I've carried the thermal with me, not just when I'm hunting, I think, which is quite important because then you get used to using it.
We head towards a piece of newly planted woodland. In theory, conditions are against us.
There's no wind at all. And to be honest with you, I find with this particular area, the deer are sort of gnawed a bit because there's houses all around us. Well, not all around us, but there are houses, so they're probably quite used to the smell of humans anyway. And then obviously you've got the road, so sound, smell, should be quite easy in theory.
Once there, Ollie faces his first problem.
I'm almost certain we'll see one in here. It's just, I think we'll probably bump it because it's so thick. But I know there.
The pheasants flying up out of the cover don't help either. Ollie doesn't see a deer here, which suggests we moved it without knowing it. Then we try the maize field with the same problem. Then we try a root crop, and finally Ollie gets the visibility he needs.
There is actually a deer over there, obviously quite far away because I'm talking quite loudly. We're going to try and make a stalk on it. I'm not sure if it's a buck or a doe from this distance because it's just gone behind the screen. If it is a buck, we can choose one for shooting.
It is a doe, and it is with a kid, but it's an unusual doe. It looks like it makes us, but it refuses to budge. It doesn't think Ollie is a threat. It even poses for a selfie. Ollie decides to push his luck. He goes into the field for a game of grand doe's footsteps. So next he tries to push it to see what will actually scare this animal. That just makes it walk towards Ollie, find that Ollie is no threat, and stalk off to the right. Finally, Ollie gets a reaction.
Roe often, they're very curious animals, and I was just curious to see how close I could get to her. And I sort of, my legs were actually getting tired of stalking. Because basically feed, move, and then I just sort of, right, I'll just make her know I'm here. So I waved my sticks around in the air. When she turned around and started walking towards me, I think she didn't know what I was either. So she figured out at the end. I think she caught my scent as well, and that backed it up.
That's it for deer this evening. As stalking highlights go, it's a good one, even if the animal is out of season. You can book your own William's Wonderful Wildlife Moment at cornishsportingagency.com. Now, as a community, we often beat ourselves up about game meat and how to market it. Well, with a sudden lack of carbon dioxide, who could have guessed that one, maybe it's time to turn up the marketing heat on game meat. News editor Ben O'Rourke looks into what our world is doing to push grouse, pheasant and venison.
What are you planning to serve on Christmas Day? There are taste tests already underway across the UK. It's about 7:30 at a pub on the North York Moors. Drinks are flowing, the tables are filling up, and punters expecting something tasty.
So what a cracking evening. Blacksmith's Arms, packed out with like really, really, really good people. Young and old, boys and girls, families, all enjoying food of the gods, grouse, fresh off the moors.
I've got grouse roasting in the oven at the moment. We've got hung grouse with crop, hung grouse without crop, and then we've got fresh grouse, which was just shot a few days ago. So we're just doing a taste test to see if people can taste the difference between those three birds.
You basically score priority 1 to 5 on the 1 to 5 that comes out. If you think you know what it is, jot it down. So if you think, oh, that's definitely an old bird, or that's a bird that's been hung, or that's a young bird, write that down as well. If somebody scores the best and gets it absolutely bang on, we'll think of a prize for it.
Are there any placebos at all? Like, is there a vegetarian option at all?
We noticed that the consumer had very strong opinions on what game was, and one of them was that it was very strong. So we were just chatting, and we thought, actually, is it all myths? Or is there some truth in it? Can people, if it's cooked the same way by a really good chef, which Ali is, will they be able to tell the difference?
Annette Woolcock has been running Basque's Taste of Game campaign for a few years, but is rebranding it as Eat Game to reflect market trends.
We have found that through the consumer research, our market has changed considerably. We always thought it was the more older generation that ate the game, and that's where we focused on several years ago. But through the research, it's very much the sort of 20 to 45-year-olds. They're very health conscious, they're very socially conscious, they're very environmentally conscious. They really like game, and because it is healthy and because it is sustainable.
There's one snag. This younger generation likes game, but doesn't like the idea of eating dead birds that have been shot, even at Christmas. Instead, Eat Game's focus will be on promoting sustainability and conservation.
It's great to know what you're eating and where it's actually from. You know, we know the person that shot it, the person that brought it to the door, and the customer knows who cooked it as well. I think it's great that it sort of tells a journey in the story. what we should be doing.
But it's not what supermarkets are doing.
We need to be moving away from this convenience idea, moving away from going to a supermarket and buying asparagus all year round, etc., etc. We need to completely rethink the way we buy our food, the way we live on the land.
A common question is, why is the UK importing venison from New Zealand when there are so many deer in Scotland being culled?
There's a huge problem. The supermarkets like consistency. And of course New Zealand is all farmed and therefore it's very consistent. They've got a very strong marketing board over there as well. They put a lot of money into the production and the marketing of venison.
It's to do with the cultural taste of the British palate. Doesn't like a strong meat, and so in the mass marketing of venison through supermarkets or whatever else, you want consistency of supply. So you want the volume of supply of the meat, and you also want consistency of flavour, and that poses challenges. And it means that's where the trade in venison comes into play, and you get this sort of import and export balance where we export our strong tasting meat to people who appreciate strong tasting meat, or their culinary practice accommodates that into sort of Poland and Germany and into Europe, and we bring in venison from New Zealand to compensate for that.
Is there a way for outreach or education or a particular way of branding that could bring in some, I don't know, just a way to reach people and change this perception of what it should taste like, to open up a sort of internal market for our own product?
I mean, it's a really interesting one. I think most venison now is consumed as a processed product, in that it comes through as a sausage or a burger.
Food is a really important part of your day, understanding where it's come, preparing it, enjoying it for your benefit and for the pleasure of eating food. And certainly when there are food shortages, it's important that we make the most of all the protein and the nutritious food that we have access to. And people are beginning to realise that when they buy game, that because it is regulated and that people are now trying to be sustainable, that they're not scared to ask questions, and that we are all more transparent about it.
If more people put game on the table at Christmas this year because of some of the challenges with deliveries and transport, then fantastic. And I can absolutely guarantee you there's a market out there, and many suppliers only too willing to provide good value game meat, which is very nutritious, very good for you, very low fat, and you can virtually source it on your doorstep.
So what else can be done to push the Christmas turkey off the table? BASC has a plan to revamp deer management north of the border in a manner that, the shooting organisation hopes, will make venison more of a festive staple.
So yeah, we've got a plan to basically try and get more communities involved in deer management in Scotland. So at the moment, opportunities are really out of reach, particularly on publicly owned land. And we find that contractors tend to be used more than anyone else on public land. So it's costing the taxpayer about £10.5 million at the moment for that. And what we're saying is that actually there's a better way that we can do this by integrating more local people who also happen to be trained recreational deer stalkers. And I think one of the key issues about getting people involved previously has been this hesitancy about dealing with multiple syndicates and trying to, it then becomes quite a complicated mess. But what BASC are saying that we're going to do with this particular initiative is that we'd actually step in and become the intermediary party between the syndicates on the ground and Forestry and Land Scotland.
There are several game meat marketing initiatives. The Countryside Alliance has Game to Eat. There's the British Game Alliance, recently renamed British Game Assurance, and even the Country Food Trust can be said to be a game meat marketing exercise. Each game aims its marketing firepower at the consumer.
Waitrose this year have said they will honour only British venison through their shelves, which will be really good. Some of it will be parkland and farmed. But it's a step forward, which is really encouraging.
Meanwhile, the results from the food tasting are in.
It's still number 2. Well, you're so kind, darling, but we're going to decline on that one. Thank you for asking.
According to Gareth, Despite their years of experience, nobody could tell the difference between old, young and hung birds.
I think the general consensus is that older game is tough, chewy, you don't want to touch it, the newest is the best, which, that partly that is true, but again, it's just the way you cook it, it's the way you prepare it. I think, people just maybe need to be educated more on the best way to cook older game, which is just cook it slower, as I say, mince it down, use it in sausage rolls, in pies, use it in cottage pie, things like that. And the taste is so much more as well with older birds. It's got a more richer, deeper taste, which is in winter. It's great, nice rich gravy, perfect. So I think it's the way we cook it.
So we have this thing in our production meetings that our films are often delicious, that is, you enjoy them, and sometimes nutritious, that is, they're good for you. Lots of nutrition in that piece. Now it's prize draw time. If you are entering our competitions on Fieldsports Extra, this week we are giving away 2 pairs of these, the gun lock security cartridges that fit into your 12-bore shotgun and lock it up so nobody can use it. Clever, eh? It's all British designed and made, and each pair of cartridges from Gunlock costs £80. To enter, watch our weekly behind the scenes show Fieldsports Extra, and the easy way to do that is to sign up to be a member of the Fieldsports Nation for about £1 a week. Follow the link below. Next, to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, it is Hunting YouTube. This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. Fieldsports Nation member John Bailey sends me his latest, Clearing Squirrels with the Air Arms S510 FAC, which combines sport with a review. Thank you, John. With no Irish Game Fair this year, usually held at Shane's Castle in County Antrim, here's a good video on the important role hunts play. George Logan goes behind the scenes at the East Antrim. Crime in the Countryside next. TGS Outdoors puts out the latest in its series for the National Gamekeepers Organisation, asking what is the cost of poaching and rural crime. Calling wood ducks in flooded woodland is a big American sport, and Weekend Woodsman is onto them in this video. A quick word about Andrew Flair, who posted a popular video about how YouTube is cutting his income. As a result, he's launched another channel, and it is flying along nicely if this duck hunting video is anything to go by. The Wild North in Canada is underway with a new season's worth of videos. This is called Fall Moose Hunt, Part 1 Moose Camp, a successful first day. I have a hunting Facebook friend in Taiwan, and he has a hunting YouTube friend in Japan. You may read how the Japanese don't go shooting. Don't believe it. Here is Bread Gun Dog, so called because he has a dachshund called Bread, shooting pheasants in Chiba Prefecture just outside Tokyo. And finally, a row doe moment that puts Ollies in the shade, thanks to Fieldsports Nation member Alexander Lever for sending in this film, which is from Estonia. That's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the I symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you would like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv. Well, that's it for this week. If you haven't done so, please whiz over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv. You can click to like us there on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube. You can pop your email address into our register page, and we'll contact you about this show, Fieldsports Britain, at 7 p.m. UK time every Wednesday. And this has been Fieldsports Britain. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.